Alrighty, YouTube, a little bit of a disclaimer. The footage of the video you're about to watch is kind of going to jump all over the place in time. There are things that I had done a month ago that I forgot I needed to do other things in order to do, and I just got it all done now, so I hope you enjoy. With all that garbage welded in the frame, now I can focus on trying to box it in. First thing, we need some cardboard. Some nicer cardboard, that is. I'm just gonna slap this in the frame here, trace it out with a Sharpie, cut it to shape, and then make sure it fits the other side, because it should, and we'll go from there. This side here isn't a big deal because the cross member I need to weld is yay far away from this mount. I'm probably gonna have to section out a part to put that in anyways. So for now, this is perfect. Now I wonder if it's gonna fit the other side as well. I don't see why it shouldn't. They're the same shape. Yeah, I think it'll work. Yep, I think that will work beautifully. Good enough for me. All right, now that I got my template all done, I got some pieces cut out of some 1/8 sheet metal. They're just rough cut off the plasma cutter right now. They look disgusting. That's fine. Right now I need to take my grinder to some of these disgusting weld seams because there's little bits of extra metal that are still there, and I'm just gonna smooth them out just enough to get the plate in there so it'll be square up. Oh no. So since mounting this cross member in here, it has changed the way I made my template. I cut a bit of an angle in the front of it to fit it up to the cross member, and the rest of it works pretty good, but I did make this a little oversized, so I'm just going to hammer it and trim it to size so I can size up my metal filler pieces a little better. I should be able to do this pretty easily. So I want it to tuck inside the frame rail. It'd be the easiest way to weld it. Beauty. All right, so there's the basic idea. It's just filler to stop the frame from ever flexing on itself, because I'm worried having it mounted to the bottom of this frame rail that this one piece of frame is gonna have way too much flex, so tying both pieces together like this will give a ton of extra structure. And now compared to the new template, yeah, it's a little bit of trimming required. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this piece over to a buddy's house to drill some holes with a hole saw and dimple die it, so it's gonna look kind of cool. And then I will come back once all that is done and prepare to weld it in the frame. And actually, after staring at it for just a sec, I'm going to trim this upper rail just a bit so the whole width is the exact same from front to back, because for some reason they have the top part sticking out more and then they have this indent here. I don't know why. Oh, I do know why. The shock mounts mounted here, so they had to have a little bit of clearance for them. That's fine. Having both of them the same will make my box install way easier. And then this one, I'll just have to bend it to conform to that shape, but that's fine. I'd much rather have closer than this disgusting mess I'd have to bend the sheet metal into. Okay, I actually ended up going over to my dad's place to borrow his compressor and his plasma cutter, just so I can do this a little easier. All right, now off to Buddy's house to do the dimple dies. All right, the frame is all trimmed now. It's a little farther in than I had wanted it to be, but it looks better than it did, so we're gonna be fine. Allow me to show you these wonderful, beautiful looking pieces of steel. These turned out way better than I was expecting them to. It's an 1.5 inch dimple die on 1/8 sheet metal. 1/8 matches the frame. And with these guys sitting in here, the look is just incredible. Yeah, so it butts right up to the front, so I can weld that there. And look at that. That's badass. Hey, there we go. Look at that. That is gorgeous. I was never really one to hop on the dimple die train, but after seeing this is great. And not only do they look good, they're functional. This dimple shape in the sheet metal adds a whole ton of structure because of all the compounding angles and whatnot. So this frame is gonna be super, super strong where these mounts are welded in now, and that's great. What I need to do now is, because these are fresh off the plasma cutter, they have a whole ton of slag. I need to grind them just to a final shape so they'll tuck in the frame rails nice. So I'm gonna do that and I'll come back and start welding them in. Well, some time has passed since I originally made the plates for boxing in my frame rails. As you can see, there's a lot more stuff in the frame now. When I originally made these pieces, I didn't take into account how much other work I had to do before I welded them in place. Cool. I pretty much made these and I was gonna weld them in and then realized, I gotta relocate the tank. I've got all this other stuff to do, and it just kind of got put aside, and now I'm finally getting to it. The last time you saw me, I finished doing this gas tank cradle and it turned out really good. I'm pretty happy with it. Like I mentioned before, it is solid as a rock. I have straps coming in the mail, so I'll be doing that in the future. Now I can get to doing this. Before I do this, I need to get the tank in the cradle so I can mock up the fuel lines and at least get them roughly run. And then once the fuel lines are run through, the wiring for the fuel pump and the taillights are run through, then I can weld these stupid panels in place. Okay, it's finally time I can start welding in these stupid things. As you've seen previously, even more time has now passed from the gas tank, and I now have all the lines and the wiring done, and I can finally close up the frame rails. First, I need to take everything back out so I don't ruin any of it once I weld these in place. Uno, dos. And then the fuel lines can come out because I should be able to thread them in through here once these plates are in place. Yeah, I should be fine. Now everything is pretty much prepped because I literally, like I did it a month ago because I was just so excited to weld it all in. The only thing like I said I have to do is just make a teeny little notch for this guy here and we will be fine. And I think the location I had that in was pretty spot on. Well, I think I almost got that first try. I just gotta cut off the corners a little bit so it'll clear the welds that I have in there already. All right, it fits almost perfect. I'm just gonna trim a teeny bit off the front, the rear, I guess. Yeah, a bit off the rear so it can slide just a hair forward and we'll be good on that side. Alrighty, those are both notched and looking good. This one's gonna take a little bit of fitment to get to sit right on the frame rails. This one I had pretty much bent to the shape I wanted it to be. And I'm gonna say that's like 99% ready to weld in. So I'm gonna get the welder over here set up so I can start getting this done. Alright, it's time to go to town. So, spoiler alert, you might not be able to hear me very well. Does this give you any indication what I'm doing? I got a little bit ahead of myself. I welded those panels in on the floor, which are now cut out. They were only tacked in place, thank God, but it was a bitch to get them out. I had mentioned before, I don't know if on video, but definitely in my head, that I was going to get all the rust, well, most of the rust out of here so that I can prep it so that when I weld the panels in, it's not going to be too bad back there, and it'll be a little easier to finish up. So there was a little bit of paint? There was a little bit of metal left on the side here and the bottom here that I just ground off. I'm going to come in here with one of these ugly wheels, one of these big spongy wheels. As you can see, I just did a little bit of testing, and then I'm going to strip out, you know, as much as I can in the areas that I'm going to be welding, and then we're going to go to town from there. Well, it's not perfect, but there's way less rust in there. Now I'm gonna mask off the parts where we need to weld and hit it with some rocker guard. All right, so on the back of this guy, well, these two pieces, I'm just gonna mask around like, I don't know, like a 1/4 inch, and then I can spray the back of this with the rocker guard that I'm gonna be doing the frame in, and then that 1/4 inch will give me enough that I can weld to it without pulling any of it into the weld and destroying it, hopefully. I'm gonna be using this premium rubberized rocker guard. It's a decent undercoating. It stays rubber for most of its life. Yeah, I'm just gonna give a coat to the back of these two plates, let them dry, and while I'm letting them dry, I'm gonna go start masking off the frame in the same such way. Ah, this stuff is great. This is going to give a really nice texture to the frame once I do the whole thing in it, just to give it a consistent look and hide some of the discrepancies, I guess. Man, this stuff always turns out so good once it dries. Let's get some satisfaction and unmask this. Oh, hell yeah. Actually, it kind of unmasked itself in some spots. Whoops, the camera died. I probably masked off a little bit too much, to be honest, but it'll be fine. I can eventually get in, you know, through the holes and try to paint this once it's all welded. It's not a big deal. This is as dry as it ever gets, and you can still, like, it's nice and stays soft. Like, it'll come off if you ever want it to, which is kind of nice. Just got to go through and mask all the areas on the frame where I'm going to be welding, and then I'll give that a coat as well. All right, so I've got the top edge with a little bit, the bottom edge with about the same, and then this guy as well. And then I think I've got everywhere else pretty much covered. If you haven't noticed, I like my lights. God, I love this stuff. And you don't gotta worry about runs because it's undercoat. Alrighty, let's wait for that coat to dry. Ah, hell, it's been 5 minutes. That's long enough, right?
Thinks I won. So hey, take that, Albert. The greatest singing competition continues. The unmasking. The unmasking. The unmasking.
Well, it's gonna have to dry for a day before I can weld anything. Please excuse my heater in the background. We just got a big boy dump of snow and it's cold outside, so I'm trying to keep my ass warm while I get in here and weld these stupid plates in place. As you saw last time, I unmasked these guys and ended up painting my frame rails, which looks fantastic. Both sides, obviously. Okay. And now I'm gonna weld these in place for good and start grinding all the welds down, and then I can move on to the tank straps. The upper straps, that is, because the bottom ones are done. All right, there we go. We're all nice and tacked in place. Now I'm just gonna go through and see if I can get any full weld beads. If not, then I'm just gonna go bzz, 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 and stitch it together and then grind it. It should be fine. It's just a little tiny structural plate. It shouldn't make that big of a difference. Yeah, that gap is a little too big, so I'm gonna have to stitch it probably most of that way. Oh, yeah! Son of a bitch, that turned out good. Alright, time to play back and forth. Alrighty, that is totally welded. And totally disgusting. Give you a quick preview. Oh, it's hazy in here, holy shit. Don't look too close because the welds are absolutely disgusting, but you get the point. They're welded in there, and now I have a whole ton of cleanup to do. And then from there, I can add my brace to make the straps for the top tank go in. Or, make the straps for the top of the tank to mount to. So I think that's gonna cut it for today. Like I just said, the next time you're gonna see me is gonna be making all the mounts for the top straps of the tank. It's probably gonna be a short video, but you'll see when it comes. As far as that goes, I hope you enjoyed that lengthy process. It took me like a month, and hope you stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching.